The ocean is a vast alien world, one that's darker, deeper, and weirder than anything we can imagine. It covers over 70% of our planet, yet we've barely skimmed the surface of its mysteries. And trust us, what we have found is enough to fuel nightmares. Down in the crushing depths, where sunlight is a distant memory, lurk creatures so bizarre they make horror movies look pretty tame. From massive, otherworldly amphipods to sharks that look straight out of a prehistoric fever dream, these deep-sea monsters are as terrifying as they are fascinating. Ready to dive into the abyss? Here are 15 of the most unsettling creatures lurking in the deep. Let's start with number 15, Flying Spaghetti Monster. Yes, you heard that right. The deep sea just casually has a creature that looks like a bowl of noodles floating through the abyss. Officially called Bathyphysa conifer, this deep-sea oddity was spotted 4,000 feet underwater off the coast of Angola by oil workers using an underwater drone. And yes, the internet lost its mind when the footage surfaced. Despite its uncanny resemblance to spaghetti, this thing isn't even a single animal. It's a siphonophore, meaning it's actually a colony of thousands of tiny creatures, called zooids, working together like some eerie underwater megazord. Some catch food, some reproduce, and others keep the whole organism moving. Nature really out here playing co-op mode. Its long, wispy tentacles help it float effortlessly, and its gas-filled float keeps it buoyant. While most people think it looks bizarre, some think it's weirdly elegant. What do you think? Deep-sea horror or strangely beautiful alien life form? Number 14, Portuguese man-o'-war. At first glance, the Portuguese man-o'-war looks like just another jellyfish, but that's where the deception begins. This isn't a single creature. It's an entire squad of specialized organisms called zooids, working together like an eerie deep-sea cult. Each zooid has a specific job. Some digested food, some reproduce, and some focus solely on ruining beach days. Its most striking feature? Well, a translucent, gas-filled bladder that floats on the surface like a ghostly blue sail, hence the warship-inspired name. But below that, a nightmare factory. Its venomous tentacles can stretch up to 30 feet and are packed with toxins strong enough to paralyze fish and make unlucky humans seriously regret swimming. Even a dead man-o'-war can still sting because the ocean isn't just mysterious, it's petty. While fatalities are rare, their sting can cause excruciating pain, fever, and even shock. So if you see one, admire it from very far away, if you want to live a little longer. Number 13, Black Sea Devil Anglerfish. The phrase, beauty is in the eye of the beholder, doesn't apply here. The Black Sea Devil Anglerfish is the stuff of deep-sea horror films, lurking between 330 and 15,000 feet below the surface, where sunlight is just a myth. But who needs looks when you've got a built-in fishing rod? The sea devil's bioluminescent lure dangles in front of its grotesque face, drawing in prey like a glowing "eat me" sign. Females grow up to 8 inches long, while males barely reach 1 inch. And the romance? Straight up parasitic. Instead of wooing a mate, the male latches onto the female permanently, fusing his body to hers, sharing her bloodstream, and essentially becoming nothing more than a nutrient-stealing sperm bank. Love is dead, at least in the deep sea. It may not be a looker, but the Black Sea Devil is a master of survival, proving that in the abyss, it's not about appearances, it's about adaptation. Would you keep one as a pet? Just kidding. Kinda period. Number 12, Vampire Squid. Despite its sinister name, the vampire squid isn't here to suck blood. It just looks like it stepped straight out of a gothic horror novel. Thriving in the oxygen-starved depths of 2,000 to 3,000 feet, this creature isn't actually a squid or an octopus, but its own weird thing entirely. Its dark, cloak-like body and eerie red eyes make it look like a deep-sea Dracula. But instead of terrorizing villagers, it eats falling debris. When threatened, it flips its cape inside out, revealing spiny-looking appendages that say, "Back off, I'm terrifying." If that fails, it releases a glowing mucus cloud because apparently the deep sea is full of creatures that weaponize bodily fluids. Unlike its ink-squirting cousins, the vampire squid relies on trickery and illusions to survive. It's not a predator, just a master of deception. Proof that sometimes the best way to make it in the deep sea is to convince everyone you're scarier than you really are. Number 11. Faceless Cusk. Meet the deep-sea creature that skipped the whole having a face part of evolution. The faceless cusk, first discovered in 1874, then immediately forgotten about, lives at depths of 13,000 feet, where the sun is just a rumor. It doesn't have visible eyes or a mouth, but don't worry, they're there, just sneakily hidden beneath its gelatinous skin. With eyesight as useful as a blindfold, it relies on sensory organs in its head to navigate. Think of it as the deep-sea equivalent of a ninja, if ninjas were slow, squishy, and had zero facial expressions. Scientists still don't fully understand how it survives in the abyss, but one thing's certain. The faceless cusk is a reminder that the ocean is still hiding some seriously weird stuff. It may not be the creepiest deep-sea creature out there, but something about a fish with no face just feels unsettling. Who needs features when you've got mystery? Number 10. Big fin squid. If aliens ever decided to design a squid, this would be the result. The big fin squid is pure nightmare fuel, lurking about 1.5 miles below the surface, with tentacles up to 26 feet long. And here's the weirdest part. It holds some of them at 90-degree angles, making it look like it has elbows. Elbows. Nature, explain yourself. We don't know much about how it hunts, but scientists suspect it uses its absurdly long limbs like fishing lines, dragging them along the seafloor or just waiting for unlucky prey to drift into its grasp. The ultimate lazy fisherman. First discovered in 1907, but not filmed until 1988, the big fin squid remains one of the ocean's most mysterious deep-sea dwellers. With its haunting silhouette and limbs that seem to never end, it's proof that the deep sea doesn't need to make sense. The weirdest part? There could be even bigger versions we haven't found yet. Sleep well knowing that. Well, from now on, we'll never go into the sea. Number 9. Northern Stargazer. Ever been stared at from underground? That's the daily experience of anything unlucky enough to swim past the Northern Stargazer. This ambush predator doesn't chase its meals, it lurks. It buries itself in the sand with only its creepy upward-facing eyes and a gaping mouth exposed, waiting for a fish to swim by. The moment it does, zap. Stargazers have built-in electric organs that deliver a nasty shock to stun prey before swallowing them whole. At up to 22 inches long, they're not massive, but their hunting technique is pure nightmare fuel. Imagine strolling on the beach, unaware that some fish with a built-in taser is watching from below. Its name, Stargazer, might sound poetic, but don't be fooled. This thing is more a horror movie villain than a celestial dreamer. Whether you're impressed by its sneaky genius or just deeply unsettled, one thing's for sure. The ocean floor is basically a living minefield, so if you ever see one, it's best to stay away. Number 8. Deep-sea lizardfish. The deep-sea lizardfish, aka Bathysaurus ferox, looks like it was designed by someone who really wanted to make nightmares worse. This thing is the ultimate deep-sea predator. Zero hesitation, zero standards. If it moves, it's food, even if it's another lizardfish. Living between 2,000 and 11,500 feet below, it's a master of the sit-and-wait hunting style. Instead of chasing prey, it lurks on the ocean floor, barely moving, just waiting for something unlucky to swim past. And the moment it does, game over. Its jaws, lined with razor-sharp teeth, even on its tongue. That's not just overkill, that's malice. But here's a deep-sea plot twist. The lizardfish is hermaphroditic, meaning it has both male and female reproductive organs. No swiping left or right down here. Self-sufficiency is key. Combine that with its ultra-sensitive eyes that detect the faintest light, and you've got a stealthy, self-reliant horror lurking in the deep. Number 7. Supergiant amphipods. Some shrimp belong in cocktails. These ones belong in horror films. Meet the supergiant amphipod, a crustacean that decided regular amphipods weren't intimidating enough and leveled up. While typical amphipods are barely noticeable, these giants grow up to 10 inches long. Basically, if a shrimp hit the gym and took protein powder seriously. They were first discovered nearly 4 miles beneath the ocean near New Zealand, and scientists were ecstatic, until they went back a week later and found them completely gone. Where did they go? Nobody knows. These creatures appear, disappear, and leave scientists scratching their heads. Since their first discovery in 1899, sightings have been rare. Either they're masters of hide-and-seek, or they're just messing with us. From the Pacific to the Atlantic, they've remained elusive, keeping researchers on edge. Are they hiding, or is there something else down there that made them vanish? Either way, these deep-sea giants are still one of the ocean's best-kept secrets. Number 6. Giant oarfish. Is that a sea serpent, or did someone bring a ribbon to life? Meet the giant oarfish, the longest bony fish in the world and the possible inspiration for centuries of sea monster legends. Growing up to 110 feet long and weighing as much as 600 pounds, this silver snake-like giant usually cruises at depths of 650 to 3,280 feet. Out of sight, but never out of mind. Oarfish are rarely seen, but when they do show up, it's always dramatic. Washing ashore after storms or surfacing near the top, often sick or dying. Ancient sailors who encountered them probably assumed they were mystical beasts, because honestly, who wouldn't? Even today, some believe that oarfish sightings predict earthquakes. Science hasn't backed this up, but hey, deep-sea creatures do have a way of surprising us. Whether they're floating legends or just misunderstood giants, oarfish prove one thing: the ocean is still full of mysteries we haven't cracked yet. Number 5. The faceless fish. Some creatures in the deep sea just give up on having a face. Meet Typhlonus nasus, more commonly known as the faceless fish, a deep-sea oddity found over 13,000 feet below the surface. With its gelatinous body, near-invisible fins, and a mouth tucked underneath, it looks like a fish that's permanently confused about which way is up. This bizarre creature was first discovered over a century ago, but scientists completely forgot about it until a 2017 expedition rediscovered it. Turns out, when you live in eternal darkness, who needs a face? With no visible eyes and a mouth that's nearly hidden on its underside, this fish is the embodiment of function over aesthetics. It may not be the ocean's flashiest predator, but its ability to thrive in the crushing depths proves that deep-sea creatures don't care about looking normal. So, if you ever feel like you're having a rough day, just remember, at least you have a face. All right, now, let's move to number 4. Giant tube worms. If there's an award for thriving where life shouldn't exist, giant tube worms would have an entire trophy case. These deep-sea oddities live in places so extreme that most creatures wouldn't last a second. Pitch black waters, freezing temperatures, crushing pressure, and poisonous chemicals. For them, just another Tuesday. Discovered in 1977 near hydrothermal vents, these worms grow up to 5 feet tall and rock bright red plumes that function as built-in life support systems, swapping gases like oxygen and hydrogen sulfide with the surrounding water. But here's the real kicker. They have no mouths, no stomachs, and no digestive systems. Instead, they rely on symbiotic bacteria to turn toxic vent chemicals into food. They grow ridiculously fast. While most deep-sea creatures take forever to mature, tube worms can colonize a new vent and reach full size in under 2 years. Resilient and rocking a bold color scheme, these creatures prove that life always finds a way. Number 3. Sarcastic fringehead. Yes, that's its real name, and yes, it earned it. The sarcastic fringehead is equal parts hilarious, aggressive, and absolutely unhinged. Found in shallow Pacific waters, this feisty fish has one mission: to flex on everything that moves. Its defining feature? A massive gaping mouth that it weaponizes during disputes. When two males face off, they don't fight. They press their gaping jaws together, essentially measuring whose bite is bigger. It's less of a battle and more of a deep-sea screaming match. The loser backs down, the winner takes the territory, and no actual punches are thrown. Despite their comedic confrontations, fringeheads are serious about defending their homes. They hide in crevices, bottle-like structures, or even abandoned shells, waiting to lunge at anything that gets too close. Their diet? Scientists suspect they munch on squid eggs and small marine creatures, but honestly, they seem too busy yelling to eat. Number 2. Hagfish. The hagfish is the deep sea's ultimate scavenger and possibly the pettiest creature alive. When a dead animal sinks to the seafloor, hagfish are first on the scene, burrowing into the carcass with their jawless, tooth-covered mouths and slurping up whatever's left. But their real superpower? Slime. When threatened, hagfish unleash a sticky, expanding mucus that instantly clogs the gills of predators, turning any attacker into a suffocating mess. Imagine taking one bite and immediately regretting your life choices. And as if that weren't extra enough, hagfish tie themselves into knots just to scrape the goo off. They've also got 4 hearts, 15 sets of gills, and the ability to absorb nutrients directly through their skin. They can go months without food. Basically, the hagfish is a weird, unstoppable eating machine that turns into a living booby trap when attacked. Number 1. Gulper eel. If there were an Olympic event for the biggest overreaction to food, the gulper eel would take gold. Also known as the pelican eel, this deep-sea creature has a mouth so massive it looks like it's constantly surprised by its own existence. Unlike most eels, the gulper eel isn't sleek or fast. It doesn't chase prey, it tricks it. This 6-foot-long nightmare uses its bioluminescent tail as bait, waving it like a deep-sea glow stick. When a curious fish gets close, boom! The gulper eel unhinges its absurdly large jaws, swallowing prey many times its size. Its tiny eyes and weak fins mean it's not built for speed, but it doesn't need to be. It just waits, lures, and strikes when the time is right. If these things were any bigger, we'd be living in Jaws, but worse. Luckily for us, gulper eels stick to the deep, far away from any accidental run-ins. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you soon in the next one.